that's usually the time that I sort of step out of nightclubs and stuff back in the day.
Yeah.
And then here you are doing a webinar.
Oh,
It's awesome
wish
to
I
have you
was
on.
in a club. That would be fun. Yeah.
Hey, I know exactly what you mean. There you go. But we actually have a team offsite day for the rest of the day where we're going to go in. So we're going to be climbing trees.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's going to be good fun.
Go A.
It is good. It's
So I'm just getting my my camera sorted here, but Richie, I might just have to go sort of non-background. But there we go. Yeah, we had a team offsite yesterday, 150 people doing all kinds of crazy things, and honestly, the buzz of people being able to sort of reconnect with their teammates was amazing.
It is, and in fact, for us, there's a couple of people who we've sort of never met in person that we brought into the team over the last 18 months. So it's going to be a new sort of moment in time. So pretty cool. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Keith. Good morning, Finn. Good morning, Emma. Good morning, Debbie. Saffron. Lovely to see you on this morning. We're going to get kicked off in just 1 minute. We shall see how Mark's camera equipment sorts itself out or not. And then we'll get cracking. Cool.
Couldn't get the background sorted, Richie, so there we go.
Hey, no problem at all. We know what it's like anyway, so we're good. Right, Mark, over to you.
Yeah, brilliant. Well, good morning, everybody. Sorry for the slight technical hiccups, but it's worth the wait because we're very, very happy, delighted, in fact, to have Meghan Farren on the show. Welcome, Meghan.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, well, no, absolutely our pleasure. And for those who, you probably don't need that much introduction, in fairness, but for those who don't know Meghan, Meghan has had a stellar career already, with lots more to come in. In fact, we're on a bit of a cusp moment in Meghan's career. We'll come back to that. But Meghan was Chief Marketing Officer for KFC for 6 years, and I think it was quite an action-packed 6 years. Yeah, of course, many awards and big moments, including running out of chicken. But I remember Meghan saying that when I think she came back from maternity leave and felt that it was a bit like a fading old man and tired and needed a bit of reinvigoration. So we'll hear about that and all that went with KFC. But also, you probably weren't aware maybe that Meghan worked at Gu, which I think that's the great freebies of all jobs. Strategic consultancy as well, and JPMorgan. So Meghan has certainly been around a few sectors. So loads of experience to share with us today. She's also a Marketing Academy Fellow. We've had a few of those on, including Ed Smith recently. And it was a Marketing Academy Fellows alumni retreat, there's a mouthful, that I met Meghan. And I think actually I probably pitched Meghan to come on the show within about 5 minutes because I thought she'd be a brilliant fit. So it's fabulous to have you on. Meghan's also in the campaign Power 100 in 2020 and probably 2021 as well. And the key thing is Meghan is on the cusp of moving to a massive job at Asda. With a team of 250 people at a really interesting time for the business. And so this is the first time we've had somebody on who's just about to go into a new massive job. And so, hopefully people have got questions around what does that look like? How do you get ready? What are you looking forward to? What are you nervous about? It's sort of really interesting transition time. So Meghan, it's fantastic to have you on the show. I hope you enjoy it. And I know our guests will. And I will say thank you and hand to Richie for the first question.
Oh, thank you, Mark. And Meghan, thank you so much for taking the evening out for us, as we should say. But look, why don't we just kick off? You've clearly been through a bout of change over the last 18 months. Love to get... Sorry, there we go. The technicals continue on, guys. This is called blooper morning. With us at the School of Marketing. So there we go. No, but look, clearly lots of change over the last 18 months. Love to hear how it's all going.
Yeah, I mean, well, loads of change, obviously, like for the world over the last 18 months, lots of change for me personally. Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think the last 18 months have been this kind of crazy, I've had some really good things happen in the last 18 months, like really, really personally, like learning about myself and what's important to me, that I should expect like more out of balance and that I can have more and that's okay and I should ask for that. But then also some really, really tough times, like tough times at work, obviously tough times like in our society. I think so it's a very odd time to have such a crazy mix of very volatile, very spiky emotions in such a short amount of time. I think work-wise, so I've been at KFC until just the end of August. Our business really weathered COVID pretty well. I mean, it's been mental for anyone in the hospitality industry and many others, but we just had muscle memory of how to manage a crisis, and I think had the teams in place and the right culture in place, that I think we came out in an even better place than we were before we went in. So came out much stronger. So, from a business perspective, it was tough and very exhausting, but also, not terrible, to be honest. We had good business results. So, And now I'm in the States visiting my family. That's why I'm over here in the middle of the night, guys. So taking a bit of time off before I start a new job.
Brilliant.
Yeah, I'm sure it's going to be intense when you start. It always is. So you get that rest, and slightly apologies for interrupting that at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Oh, don't be silly. Yeah, it's all good.
Now you said over the last 18 months you've learned a lot about yourself and what's important. So what have you learned about yourself and what's important?
I think the biggest realization for me was that I always thought I had balance. So I always thought, oh no, like I've got this thing. So for the audience who won't know, I have 2 little girls, 1 5, 1 8. My husband runs a startup, a menswear fashion brand, direct to consumer, which is about 8 years old now. So it's actually, it's not really a startup. It's kind of moving to scale up.
You can give it a plug, by the way. You can give it a plug. It's a good audience, perhaps.
Yeah. Okay. For menswear that actually fits, it's spoke-london.com. I'm doing a really bad job of this. You would not be happy about this. So yeah, check it out. But I always thought, in my 10 years at KFC is a brilliant company to work for. It always puts people first. And I was able to make the choices generally that I wanted to make, that, that worked for the business and for me. But I traveled a lot. I was commuting a minimum of an hour each way, depending where I was headed every morning. And then COVID hit, and it was like, wow, like I can sleep and exercise and see my kids and see my husband and also do a good job at my job. And I was like, I didn't even know. I'd never had it. So I didn't know that I didn't have it. And I think I won't have the luxury of, being home all the time forever. But equally, I think I won't go back to the balance that it was before. It was out of whack, and I didn't even know it was out of whack. I was so tired, and I didn't even know I was so tired. So I think that's one of the things. It's like you can't miss something that you've never had. And now I've had it, and I'm going to do everything in my power to keep hold of some part of it.
Megan, it's a really interesting point, and we're really at a moment in time where we're trying to refigure that balance out. And I've got people that we're working with, some of whom sort of are trying to get people back into the office now, and others who are kind of saying, well, actually, no, that's sort of the end of it. Where do you see the middle ground? And perhaps you're entering into a new world within your new job in Asda. Where would you try and draw the lines with these things?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really hard, first of all, because I think to do this well, you need leaders and managers and coaches and bosses that are really clued in with each individual employee, because I think what every person needs is actually really different. What I need is very different than my 22-year-old social media manager who's sharing a house with 7 other people and actually doesn't have a nice study somewhere off to go quiet and do Zoom calls all day. And actually what you need at that age is really different than what you need when you're 40 with 2 kids. And so I think it's partly just being able to really understand what your team need, and also for them equally to know what the business needs, because it's not just about only what the team needs. It's also, you're part of a team, so you have to do what they need sometimes. And I think it's being able to trust each other enough to have open conversations and to say, hey, this is what I really need. And also, to sometimes give what the business needs from me. So it's, at KFC after 10 years, I had all that type of trust and deep relationships. going into a new team and a new business, and I don't know the ways of working. I don't know, and I'm sure there'll be times when I'm nervous to ask, but I'm going to try to be, willing to be vulnerable, basically, to say, hey, this is what I need. I don't know. I think it's sometimes it's about, especially as like an individual, it's about remembering that you have choices. You don't have to work for this company if it's not working for you in your personal life, or for what you're not getting what you want out of your life on a day-to-day or over a trended time period. You have a choice, and you can make that choice, and it's just a job, and you can go find another job. And that can seem really scary, I think, when you're younger, because it is also hard to get a job sometimes. But also it's very liberating to embrace that sense that, you can make a choice. And if it's not working and it doesn't work for you and doesn't work for the business, what you need, you can make a choice to go find that somewhere else. So I think sometimes that can be liberating as an employee to think that. So
I love that.
Meghan, great perspectives. And you mentioned vulnerability, and I think that's sort of one of your not so secret superpowers, in terms of you don't come with hubris and ego, and in fact the opposite. So we will inevitably look forward, but let's rewind a little and look back. And I'm curious to know, how did you find your way into marketing in the beginning?
Yeah, I didn't really have a plan. So I'm not one of these, there's some people are so good and they're like really organized and they have a whole plan. I never had a plan. After I had done, as you said, I was in banking right out of school. And that was because I wanted to live in New York, and that was the job I could get, to be totally honest. I learned a lot from it and got a lot out of it. And then eventually moved to consulting to learn a bit more about actual business. And the reason I went to Gu was because I wanted to work for a brand in a line role. I wanted to be in a function, not in a strategy team writing kind of strategy PowerPoints. And I just liked the brand. I was really passionate about it. And I called the guy, the founder, Jim Averdeek. And somehow I managed to get his email address from someone. And I just hounded him until he would meet me. And he gave me a job in sales because they happened to have an opening in sales. I was not good at sales. It was not my thing, but I did it. I learned the business. And then what I realized was that all of the kind of the important decisions that I felt I wanted to have a say in, about the direction of the brand and the direction of the business and where they put investment, that was being driven in the marketing and in the brand team. The sales team had, don't get me wrong, lots of power and influence in the business, because if you tell someone, oh, Tesco will they'll delist us if we don't give them this, the business runs. But it was really the strategic choices were being made in marketing. And I was like, actually, I want to go over there. And there was an opportunity come up in a brand manager role, and it wasn't a promotion. I think it was, they didn't reduce my pay, but it was like a backward step kind of career-wise. And I just took it. And I worked for this marketing director, amazing woman who had come from Pepsi and Walker's Pepsi. And I just learned from her, to be honest. We were a team, and she taught me everything she had learned, and she'd done all the proper grad schemes and everything. So that's kind of how I got into it.
I'll tell you what, Meghan, you must be an absolutely quick learner there, because being able to jump into marketing sort of midway stream and then be able to excel is absolutely brilliant. Just so you know, Sheila's saying, so I think your understanding of your colleagues' diversity of needs is brilliant analogy for the diversity of customers' needs, and very refreshing. So there you go. Meghan, I want to pick up on something that you said when you were getting into Gu, and you literally hounded the individual. And I love that, by the way, because actually I think in today's world, on the one hand we talk about choices, and on the other you did mention that it's pretty hard to get a good gig these days. And I just want to kind of get your reflections on that moment in time, and perhaps a little bit more around sort of career trajectory, and how you were able to sort of carve your own path in many ways, and maybe some advice that comes from that about being able to go after organizations that you may want to work with. Maybe there's a story in there about how you got into Asda. Who knows?
Yeah. It is fun. When I made the jump from management consulting into Gu, it was really risky at the time. I mean, at the time, I look back and I mean, what a great decision. But at the time, I had no idea if this was the right decision. It was really scary because, you know, I don't know if anyone knows, but management consulting, you're on a very good salary. You're making a lot of money, even though you don't know anything. You're on a pretty good salary. And then I went to the startup. I took a 50% pay cut to do a job. I had no idea even what, like a national account manager. I didn't even know what that was. I didn't know, but I was like, you know, I'm in and I'm going to learn. And in a small business, you will get to see everything. So that was, you know, I was like, I want to work for a brand I'm passionate about, that I can get excited about, like growing, and where I'll have the opportunity to see stuff and learn. And it was just a foot in the door. I was like, I just need a foot in the door. And then if it goes somewhere, that's great. If not, you know, then I can use that to go find the next thing. And I managed, so basically I asked around, because when you can write, you know, try to talk to people on the websites, and sometimes that's, back in the day as well, there wasn't the same level of social media. I mean, this was like 15 years ago, probably. And someone happened to have met Jim, who was the founder of Gu at the time. They met him at some trade show or something. And they said, oh, I have his business card. And they gave me his business card. I didn't even have a personal introduction, and I emailed, and then he just ignored it. And then I emailed, and he ignored it, and then emailed. And he was like, okay, just come in for a chat then. And I walked in, and it was just chaos in there. And he had a dog, and there was a dog in the office. And at the time, that wasn't like a done thing. And he just gave me a job. You know, we chatted for like 10 minutes, and he's like, okay, well, I need someone like in sales, so you can do that. And I was like, okay, sure. But yeah, I think for me, I don't know if it was so much persistence. I mean, it was persistence, but also just the willingness to take a big leap, like what felt like a leap of faith, and to go where something felt exciting and interesting, and where I'd learn a lot. And I was scared because, I mean, sales and going in to see buyers and stuff, I was terrified. And I think that's good. I think, you know, I'm not sure a lot of growth comes from being comfortable. So yeah, I think that was what was very interesting. And then it paid back, because then I was able to build the experience and eventually move to KFC. So.
Well, awesome. I love that persistence. You reminded me of a story. I worked at 118 a few years ago. The founder, Robert Pines, was doing his MBA, and he got a lecture from Tommy Tish, the Tish family. And he said, I've got this great idea for kind of making directory inquiries really efficient. If you lend me $1 million, I'll turn it into $1 billion. And Tommy Tish, he wrote to him every day for 1 year. And after 1 year, Tommy Tish said, okay, let's meet. And just as you said, he said, like, let's do it. Let's give it a go. And he did turn it into $1 billion. So anyway, no, it's fabulous. So, I mean, you are on the cusp. So how are you getting yourself ready, match fit for what's bound to be a whirling, swirling start?
So I don't know, maybe I'm just being totally negligent, Mark. Do you know what I'm doing? I'm resting. I am just having, I'm just trying to just be deeply rested. I found it, so I've worked at KFC for 10 years. And of course I've, like you've had your holidays and stuff, but never more than like two weeks max off. I mean, I know we rarely take 2 weeks, just because of our schedules and stuff. And I heard this amazing, so I think he's a psychiatrist or a psychologist, but he came to speak to us at KFC last year about burnout and the signs of burnout. And he talked a lot about the chemistry, the biochemistry that happens in your bodies when you feel a level of stress over a long sustained period of time. And not all stress is bad. There's a lot of good stress. And he's super interesting. I can put a link if anyone's interested in the chat to some of his thinking.
Please do.
There's this tidbit that he said, this factoid, like it takes 21 days for cortisol to leave your body. Like when you have too much cortisol, when it's been built up. No one ever goes on a 3-week holiday. You don't do, unless maybe your honeymoon, if you're lucky. It has taken the first 2.5 weeks of being off just to decompress completely. And so that's what I've been focused on. Honestly, I've been focused on exercising. I've taken up yoga, which is really hard as it turns out, especially if you haven't really stretched for 40 years of your life. I have read books, read the New York Times. I've like done my crossword puzzle every day. I'm doing all sorts of admin, but I'm just looking after myself. That's how I'm getting ready. And then I'm just having coffees with some of my team, you know, that I just, because I can't wait to meet them and just to say hello. That has been my priority for my month off, because I want to arrive fresh and yeah. And as you say, match fit, but match fit in a really like physical kind of mentally calm way, if that makes sense. But I am starting to think about the challenge. I mean, I would be lying if I said I wasn't. So yeah.
And just to build there, sort of what do you think are the big challenges going in?
Oh, you know, I think it's going to be an epic challenge, which is why I took the job. I was starting to think when they called me, I was starting to think, oh, 5 years at the end of this year, 5-6 years in the role, maybe it's, you know, starting time to be ready for something else. I'm not movable because my husband runs a startup, spoke-london.com in Richmond. So we're based here. And Yum would probably want me to go somewhere else. Yeah, and it's the most amazing opportunity to help be part of the team, like to be part of the team that could put Asda like back front and center on the map in the UK, this huge brand with so many British roots. That's been part of like communities and households for like decades. I mean, it's amazing. And there's scale as well. So obviously much bigger scale than I had at KFC. I mean, we have more restaurants at KFC, but as just the sheer size of it and the team members and the size of team and the ability to impact that was also incredible. And then, you know, what I heard from these guys was just so much ambition and real investment with the new owners. You know, they want to invest, they want to grow the brand, and they really believe in the power of brand and marketing. And I think the other thing is that there's real, I love the idea of building an incredibly talented, like kick-ass marketing team that's going to be a competitive advantage for Asda, you know, like in that grocery retail space. And there's an opportunity to like mix things up. And I don't know, it's going to be really hard, I'm sure. And I don't know how successful it'll be, but I think how can you not have a crack at that? It's such a privilege to have that kind of opportunity. So, yeah, that is.
And you just said you're not thinking about it much. You've literally spelled out, you know, the grand plan. That's perfect. That's really cool. Meghans, just, you know, what's really cool about it is just so your excitement and energy for this new challenge that it's just kind of coming through in noodles. By the way, Chirag says, woohoo, yoga. He's a big yoga buff, and I think he teaches yoga now as well. So there you go. Getting into it. Here we go. Oh, another comment coming in from Chirag. So I work in Mars, and we've just had our best ever gum execution with Asda. There we go. Hey, Meghans, I'm gonna throw in a bit of a curveball question for you.
Okay.
So don't worry, not too major here. But I just want to ask, what's it like? Sort of, you know, you're clearly a career corporate girl. So what's it like marrying to a startup guy? How's that dynamic play out?
Oh, do you know, that is a good question. It is interesting, you know, because I'm in awe. I'm totally in awe of what he has done. I never really, you know, I did work at Gu, but that was like already started. That wasn't like founding something from scratch. Yeah, I think it's when we do talk a lot about work, but we talk probably, I would say more about his work at night in the evenings, because I think what you notice, and he was a founder, a sole founder, so he didn't do it with a partner. I mean, he has senior people in his business now, but it's been him by himself for a long time. You know, you just don't have the team. And I think that's what I just appreciate massively is that when you are the scale of KFC with the budgets and which enables us to work with amazing agencies and amazing teams, it's so much, you know, I don't want to say easier, but like you can live up to the potential in some ways, whereas like he is just fighting to hold on to great talent. And, you know, he just has to think so differently about every challenge in front of them in every function, marketing or otherwise, because you're on a shoestring, and every pound they spend is like, you know, if I spend this pound in the wrong way, it could mean the difference between being able to, you know, pay my team for another month if you know, or having to get fundraising earlier or later, or, you know, things unwinding. And I think the pressure of that is immense, and I'm in awe of his ability to do that. I think I don't think that two of us together, like if I was running a startup or building my own company and he was doing it, I don't know if that would work. There's something about, we have the stability, and I'm really happy in a big organization. You know, I like that. I can operate well. It plays to some of my strengths, I guess. And he's amazing in that. He just wanted to always build something himself and build a brand, and he's done that. But yeah, I mean, we do definitely talk a lot about marketing. I mean, he's always bringing me marketing questions. Yeah. But then my approach is like, well, that won't work in a startup. I'm like, okay, well.
Brilliant.
Lots of free advice. Now, Meghan, you said that your career is a little bit squiggly. I mean, that they are for nearly everybody. I'm sure there's been setbacks and stumbles. So it's always good to hear how people have learned through the difficult times as well. So what's some of the stumbles that you've encountered?
Yeah. Oh, you know, it's so right, Mark. Like, when I look back on my career now, I mean, I think very little that I would actually like change, because now in my head, you know, I've just learned so much, and it's made me the person that I am, and I appreciate that person. But yeah, but at the time, that's not how it feels. I will say, I think the biggest thing that has marked me, when I was at Gu, and as I said, I was I had gone from sales and category management into a brand manager role, and I kind of moved up. I got promoted a few times, and then all of a sudden, the marketing director I spoke of, who was great, she decided to move back to New York. She's American actually as well. For some reason, details not important, and so she left suddenly, and I was like, they had me in the marketing director role on an interim basis. And I really wanted this job. I mean, I really wanted this job. And I was doing it, you know, I was kind of doing the job. And then they said they were going to interview externally as well, and I could be a candidate and interview. Great. And it came down to me, and then there was one other woman, and she was obviously had much more marketing experience, like much more background. And actually that's what, like, this, you know, there was a new CEO would come in, and he wanted someone who was like a sure thing, you know, wanted like the person who had like the CV with marketing on it. And I didn't have enough of the training, and, you know, fair enough. But so we interviewed, and then I never heard anything. And I was like, you know, what's going on? And I just carried on, right? Thinking if I just do a great job, then like he's going to see that I can do this. And then, like, you know, I've got a chance. And then I got a call from the GM in France, who was a friend of mine. She's British. I had met her in the UK. And she said, oh, you know, I heard from Ogilvy, or from one of their agencies, I heard that they've hired the new marketing director. And it had been announced already at this girl's job in her business. And it had been announced at the agencies as well. So no one had a conversation with me. No one had ever spoken to me about it. It was, you know, it was the shame. I was so ashamed. I mean, I still can feel it now, even though, like, I went on to then work at KFC, and I've had, you know, it was all good, but I still feel that shame of like, gosh, I wasn't good enough, and having to like tell my husband I didn't get it. And then also just it was so belittling to not have been told properly, and to not have been set for him to have not taken the respect to say, you know, and here's what we want you to do, you know. And that was, oh gosh, I remember going back home. I just remember it, like I was just sobbing on my sofa. And then I was like, okay, you know, they tried to give me a different job, and I was like, no, I think it's time to go somewhere that, you know, is a better grower and builder of people. And I landed on my feet, and it was fine. And I look back on that, and I think everyone needs to have experiences like that, because you need to not get the job, because what you learn about yourself and the resilience you build and the character you build, to pick yourself up and keep going. And sometimes you need to pick yourself up. It's not, you know, it's not just career stuff, but business stuff, you know, crises, and you have to pick yourself up and keep going. And I think to have that kind of confidence, you actually have to have gone through some tough stuff. So yeah, I mean, that was mortifying. I mean, I was just, but hey, look, I can talk. I've shared that twice publicly now, and I didn't cry, so that's good. It still feels like hurtful. Yeah.
I can see that really cuts deep, and brilliant that you can share that. I mean, you're right. Everybody needs to not get the job, but that is just poor the way it was handled. But all credit to you, Meghan, for sharing it so honestly and openly. So back to you, Richie. But thank you.
No, not at all, Meghan. Honestly, the best part about that story is that you have proved through and through that you are more than good enough, and I think that's what's amazing. And it's about, in many ways, read between the lines, where it's sort of, get back up, kick ass, make it work again, and then kind of go, hey guys, you missed out, not me.
Yeah, and I think the other thing I would say, and I do think this is important, and I can see that with perspective now. I think they were right to hire this other person, because she was better, and if they had handled it properly, I would have worked for her and learned so much. Because it's true, I didn't have loads of marketing experience. I had lots of good experience, but I did not have lots of technical marketing experience. And I've actually worked hard to kind of build that up because I came, my career Wiggly. And actually, you know what? I think she was better qualified. And it was just the way it was handled that was so mortifying. But to be honest, she was great, and I'm still friends with her, the woman they hired. But yeah, sometimes you are not the right person for the job, and that's okay too. And things will go on, and it will be okay. Yeah,
totally. So on that note, I'm going to ask a bit of a polarizing question, and I urge you not to say it depends. So when taking on new people into the marketing function in today's day or an age, do you choose the veteran or the underdog?
I mean, it depends.
I knew it.
I think both. I mean, we have a mix of both. I would say it really depends on the job, and also on the balance of the team you already have, right? Like, I think you really do want, if you've got all, I don't want to say young, but junior people or people with less experience, having someone who knows the rules and to then can help, who knows the rules, knows when to break the rules. That's quite important. Someone who's trained, who's had lots of experience, like that is really important in grounding and centering and calming a team. There's just maturity that comes with experience that I don't think you can have at 22. I just, having been one of those 22-year-olds, and a team needs a mix, I think. I know, sorry, that I don't mean to cop out, but
no, it's good answer. Good answer.
No, it's but Richie, I mean, that's always the best response when you have a difficult question. It depends. Now then, so Meg, you've talked about learning from some great bosses. We were both part of the Marketing Academy Fellowship, which has mentoring as a key component part. So, and obviously we run the Mentoring Gen Z scheme, trying to help people into the industry. So what role has mentoring played for you, both in terms of being a mentor and being a mentee?
Yeah, I mean, I love mentoring people, mainly because I learn stuff every time. And and it's also, if you set it up right and you create the right tone for the discussions, it can be a really safe space. And yeah, every conversation I've had with any of the amazing people I've mentored through the Marketing Academy has been awesome. I've learned loads, and they've always been so interesting. On the mentoring side, I actually haven't had huge numbers of mentors in my career. At KFC, they have like formal programs. Sometimes, it works, sometimes it doesn't. I think it depends on the chemistry and such. I've recently, through the fellowship, I was put in touch with a mentor and a coach in Sil, and she's been amazing. But I think there's something in, to be honest, like just finding the right bosses and finding the right people to work for. And I would say that has probably been the greatest influence on how I've developed as a leader in the last 5 years. Would be, I worked for an incredible woman who's the CEO of KFC in the UK. And I feel so privileged to have worked for her, because I have learned from her how not to be fearful or how to be fearless. I've learned from her, it's okay to stand up for like what you need. I've learned from her, it's okay to speak truth when no one else believes. And when they say you're wrong, just to keep going. Like, don't accept no for an answer. Say, okay, well, you think on that, and we'll speak again in a week. And she, I think, has been the most powerful influence. She's a mom as well. She's got 2 kids. She's in obviously a super, a very pressurized, incredible job. And I've just seen her stand up for what she believes in big ways and in little ways, and to not be fearful of anything related to that. And I think that has had a profound impact on how it's given me the confidence to do that for myself. And I think it's the greatest gift, is to give someone that confidence. And I mean, she's incredible. I honestly put so much of my success down to the coaching I've had from her. And so I'm so lucky. I don't know if I answered your question though. I'm sorry.
No, you did.
I'm gonna turn to another question. We're running out of time, so probably
I'm sorry,
one
I
or
talk
two
a
more.
lot.
No, it's all. Look, it's been awesome. So this is a question from Chirag. I know, Chirag, you sent me a couple of questions beforehand, but I suspect you want this one answered over those. So what's your role framework to learn so fast? So jumping from many industries and functions, what are some of the ways you get up to speed quickly? And how much of a role does just working super hard, long hours play within that getting up to speed aspect of things?
Oh, those are great questions. Thank you. Okay, so actually on the first one, I think it's just about being curious. So I don't know. You might tell I'm not the most organized person already. I'm not super, I don't have a framework. I just try to understand, so I ask questions. And I think it's like the combination of curiosity and humility is so critical, particularly in marketing and in marketing leaders. It's like the really wanting to understand why something's happening, what's happening, and then having the humility to say, oh, I don't understand, or why would that be? And asking others to explain that, and for others' points of view, not assuming you know all the answers. I think that's how you learn. And then having the courage to speak and say, like, I just really don't understand what you're talking about. That's how I learn. I mean, honestly, and I still do it. And often people thank me for asking that in the room, because other people don't understand and they're scared to ask. But if you don't ask, you'll never learn, right? So I basically I read masses. But my reading, like, I can go down rabbit holes, and that looks interesting, and I'm going to learn more about that. But I think it's just a curiosity thing, and not being afraid to say, I don't know anything about that, so I'm going to go learn. I did as I told you, I'd never had this formal marketing training. So I did with my leadership team at KFC a few years back, 2 years ago now, maybe, or maybe, I don't know the time, it doesn't matter. We did the mini MBA in brand management with Mark Ritson. We did it all together, so we'd have a shared language. I learned masses, and I'm not afraid to say, as a CMO, I was like, I'm going to go learn about marketing. And it's, gosh, and I wish I would do it again if I could. I'll do it with my team at Asda probably. It's just the chance to have shared learning. I believe in like being curious, then being humble enough to say you don't know, and then doing that with your team. Because it's amazing what you can learn together when you're all kind of exhibiting those behaviors.
Meg,
and then there was a second question. There was a second question, but now I forgot what it was. I'm sorry, Richard.
Oh, work super hard, long hours.
Oh,
does that come into it?
I think, look, I'm not going to lie. Before I had my first child, I did work. I was working hard, and I was pregnant, and I had this thing of like, I got pregnant really like quite quick early on in my career at KFC, and I felt guilty. I shouldn't have. They didn't make me feel guilty. That was me making myself feel like that. But then, you know what? I came back and I had a baby, and I couldn't work a million hours, and I was so much better for not having done it. I think there's times when actually you need to like put your nose to the grindstone, and you need to like deliver, you need to deliver something, or it's a tough time, or sometimes the hours, it just happens. But I don't think all the time. I think in my head, and at least in my sector and our business, there's something wrong if someone is working 80 hours a week. That's just like, that it's not healthy. We're not getting the best out of that person, I don't think, you know, because they're not looking after their own selves. So I would say, look, sometimes you've got to work the hours, you know, especially in a new job. If you know, you're learning something new, it takes you longer. So, but all the time, that's not right. Maybe if you're like a banker or corporate lawyer. Don't know.
Meghan, it's fantastic insights. Unfortunately, our time is up. It's been amazing. Meg, you are a superstar. And it's been lovely to have you on. I'm going to do a quick recap and then hand to Richie to close us out. So you said over the last 18 months, you've learned a lot about yourself and what's important. And thanks for bringing that to life. And a key part of that is balance. And I love the expression, I didn't know that I didn't have it. We've probably all learned a bit of that. You showed loads of vulnerability, which has been fantastic. You've talked about how you've been able to take risks, follow your instinct. 50% pay cut, not many people would do that, but look how it's paid dividends in the long term. The persistence of keep pitching yourself for a job you really want. I love the thought about good stress and bad stress. I didn't know it takes 21 days to get rid of the cortisol. Whoops. But I love the fact you talk openly about needing to look after yourself. Not many people talk about that openly. It might seem like a frivolous or indulgent thing, but of course it's not. I love the fact you said, I appreciate that person. Not in an arrogant or an egotistical way, but in a, you know, I like myself way. I think that was fantastic. You talked about curiosity, humility, and courage. But the key things that I take away from this session, the two key things, is I think you are very human. And I think at some level you're quite fearless, but again, not in a brash or arrogant way. So I think those are brilliant qualities. I think you'll take those into ASDA and it will be an amazing experience for you and everyone around you. And you'll build a confident team. And so I just want to say thank you for your brilliant insights and all the very best of luck at ASDA. And over to you, Richie.
Thank you, Mark. So look, first off the bat, Meg, we've never had a guest come on at 3 a.m. before, and so to that end, you know, you can see the energy that you bring in, and to share with us, you know, so many great insights at 3 a.m. is absolutely phenomenal. Because if anybody asked me to do it, I'd be an absolute flipping wreck. So there you go, right? That in itself is just incredible. Just a quick comment from Sheila there. She says, Meghan, if you haven't already read it, I recommend Grace Dent's memoir, Hungry. Much of a childhood was spent at ASDA. So it's a great book. So maybe that's a bit of a precursor to where you're about to embark on. A bit of a nugget there for you. But yes, look, overarching, it was just a brilliant session. I think Mark summed up just, you know, absolutely fantastically about some of the key things that we've learned here today. So thank you, Meghan. It's been an absolute pleasure, and I hope you get some sleep now, and you can walk in to have a good time with your family, because you've just arrived there as well. So guys, I know we're out of time. So for anybody else, as you know, we're here every week, every Friday morning at 8 a.m. UK time, or US time 3 a.m., depending when you want to tune in from. But next week, we've got Kathleen Saxon, who's the MD of MediaLink. An awesome speaker, an awesome person, and she's had such a fantastic career as well. So tune in next Friday, 8 a.m. to learn more about Kathleen's journey.